These are we the people news. Alright. This video is without prejudice and or without recourse. I'm going to stand on the UCC 1-308 just for argument's sake. All rights reserved. Okay. Not an attorney and not giving legal advice. This video is a learning video and opinion. Alright. So do not take it anything as such. If you do follow the words of wisdom, well, more power to you. Alright? I never look straight forward. I always look around me to be able to protect myself by any means necessary, people. Alright, let's go.
Somebody asked, Derek, why do you feel that you don't have to pay to utilize the court system for your redress of grievance? Well, first of all, it's not a feeling, it's a fact, all right? And, but to address the question, I figured it'd be best to just say it on here and let everybody know why you, well, at least I, anyway, don't have to pay to utilize the courts for the redress of grievance, to resolve disputes and issues that otherwise would be settled barbarically, right? If we didn't have access to the court to settle our disputes, we may very well just go back to living in caves like Neanderthals, right? After all, that's what essentially would happen if we didn't have a means for redress of grievance. So, let me put it to you this way. I had a lawyer one time who got into a conversation with me, and it was rather comical. And I find that one of the best ways to get them to see things is, instead of making statements, I ask questions. And the questions that I ask are very provocative in the sense that they invite and encourage the free exercise of thought and rationale versus regurgitating what you've read in a book, okay? And he told me that, Derek, you just don't understand. There's a duality of sovereignty. I said, really? Explain. And he says, well, the state is sovereign. The government is sovereign, and thus we have a duality of sovereignty. And although I found the argument brilliant, brilliantly ignorant, it was comical. And I asked him, I said, so you're telling me the government, which is an ideology of man created, it's a thing, it's a thought process, it's a way of thinking, is sovereign? Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. So an idea is sovereign, okay. And that government is what exactly? Well, if you don't know what a government is, Derek, I don't know if we could even have a conversation. Well, I'm asking you, what created the government? Well, it's written on paper. Ah, here, alas, we have reached my point. You're telling me the duality of sovereignty is nothing more than ideology put on a piece of paper that all man must accept as being sovereign? No, you're misconstruing it. No, I say not. I'm not misconstruing it at all, because what you're telling me is an inanimate thing, a thought, ideology scribed on paper grants rise to something having sovereignty. But the only real thing that can have sovereignty is man. All right? Man is sovereign. But to further make my point to him, and this was just before he decided to terminate communication, because reality really sucks when you spend $100,000+ on an education only to be educated by an ignorant wretch who never went through any formal educational training. All right? I asked him one question, and it settled it. It was done. He started removing all his comments on Facebook, and I've been excommunicated by yet again another lawyer. And I think it's funny. And the question was, if the government is sovereign, aren't also deer sovereign? Do deer have sovereignty? Well, that's just preposterous. Well, how is that preposterous? A deer has a cognitive thought process, bears offspring, nurtures, loves, and cares, feeds and grazes, sleeps, eats, shits, and does everything but shower and shave. And yet you're telling me that that deer doesn't exhibit sovereignty. However, the government, the ideology of government, scribed on paper, with no way of thinking, showering, shitting, or shaving, has sovereignty. Just let that resonate in your mind for a moment. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the communications and the transmissions cease. What I'm trying to point out to you is the reason you don't have to pay to be in a court of we the people to do a redress of grievance for a trespass causing you harm, damage, and loss, whether it be by the government or by another fellow or brother or sister in a community that you happen to be in at the time, is we have a right to justice. We have a right to redress a grievance. We have a right to be made whole. All right? The reason corporations have to pay to be in the court is because it's a privilege to use we the people's courts in a corporate capacity to redress your grievances based upon a corporate entity. And thus, you do have to pay when you're coming and representing a corporation that is that one is claiming has sustained harm, damage, or loss or injury due to another's actions. All right? So, corporations have the privilege, not the fucking right. This duality of sovereignty shit, I can rip up in 5 fucking seconds, and I don't give a shit how good the lawyer is. Absolutely fucking destroy him on this. Because the fact remains, these are we the people's courts for resolving and redressing issues and grievances and things that need settled. And it requires no payment at all. None. Because we have already paid. If we haven't paid in the bloodshed for this idea called freedom, if we haven't paid for the right to do so at this point, I don't know what does constitute a payment, ladies and gentlemen. Article 1, Section 10 is very clear. No state shall order or authorize anything but gold or silver as a tender of debt, as a tender of payment for debt, period. Right? They're not authorized to ask for anything from you for your redress of grievance. And when they say they need $500, $500 of what exactly? Be very specific in the specie you're asking for. And they're barred from telling you gold and silver. Why? Because a trust was manifest. When they sucked up the substance in the economy, they were duty-bound as trustees to see that everything we need was addressed and taken care of and discharged. So I hope that answers this guy's question about why I feel I don't need to pay for court. Because it's already been paid for. All right? These people sit in their illustrious positions on the bench because we gave them the ability to put a mortgage on every piece of property, cars, houses, buildings, right? And in doing so, it manifested a trust relationship. A trust manifests into existence when one party grants property to another and there's no consideration given back, right? So I give you something of value and you don't give me anything in return. You are now entrusted with my property as a trustee to keep it safe, right? Yep. So a trust manifests because I gave you something of value and you gave me nothing in return, and that manifests a trust relationship. That's the importance of studying trust law. And what we have being exhibited in this current day and time is a trust where they have been entrusted with the assets of the people, and because of such action, they are duty bound to ensure that what we need is provided. It's that simple. And we granted that to them, right? It was actually taken. And when it was taken, the Supreme Court said, whoa, 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 whoa. If you take without giving remedy, it's treason. You better straighten this shit show out real quick. So what did they do? They said, oh, you tell you what, since they're going to give us all the gold and silver, under threat, duress, and coercion, we will provide remedy in the aspect of discharging everything dollar for dollar. So again, I say to you, what exactly do I owe the court for using the court for which I've already paid? And everybody has already paid, by the way. The only thing, or the only thing that has to pay to utilize we the people's courts, ladies and gentlemen, is corporations. Because it's a privilege for a corporation to utilize we the people's court to air their grievances. They do have to pay. You as a man making a claim does not. I hope that it helps you guys out. It's crazy to me that people don't see that for what it is. I'm a man. I have a right to the court, all right? And I can go there and press my claim anytime I want without any fiat or anything else being compelled of me. Article 1, Section 10, the right of contract shall not be abridged by the government. Okay? So they're not allowed to interfere with your contracts. They're not allowed to interfere with private contracts, and they're not allowed to interfere with any other form of contract. The courts, when you pay them, you're contracting with them. They're making an offer. You can accept that offer and give them the payment, or you can simply let them know who you are and why you're entitled by right to use the court at your disposal as you see fit. Pretty simple. So I hope that clears the air on that.
Alrighty. This is Diesel We the People News. Till next time, y'all. Bye.